Next on ITV2, all new Roman antics with comedy plebs. Time to get the latest now. Here's the ITV News at 10.
Now it is Toronto. A van ploughs into pedestrians in the centre of the city. 9 are dead, 16 injured, but the police do have the driver in custody. Also on News at 10 tonight. And then they were 3, a brother for George and Charlotte. In a world of too much doom and gloom, a little bit of joy for the country's first family.
Roy's worried now.
The Home Office has been the graveyard of many a political career, so will it be so for Amber Rudd? The Home Secretary had a torrid day in the Commons as she tacked and she weaved over the Windrush scandal.
This is a failure by successive governments to ensure these individuals have the documentation they need.
The bleak side of India. This is Sonu. Her 4-month-old daughter was raped and thrown down this stairwell. And these are young girls training to fight off rapists. Mood music, Andrew Lloyd-Webber on the true cost of cutting music from the curriculum.
Every penny that we spend on music and the arts in schools comes back tons of times over.
This is ITV News at 10 with Tom Bradby.
In what looked eerily like a replay of terrorist attacks around the world, a van was driven onto a crowded pavement in Toronto in Canada this evening. 9 pedestrians were killed. The injured, 16 of them in all, were left strewn on the ground. It isn't yet clear whether there was indeed a terrorist motive, but the van's driver has been caught.
This was the harrowing scene as the injured were being treated on the pavement. The incident happening just north of downtown Toronto, as lunchtime crowds were walking down the popular shopping street. The rented white van that was used for the attack could be seen here with the suspect lying on the pavement in front of it. Other video shows the moment he was arrested. At first, the driver appears to threaten a police officer before he throws something to the ground. He is then detained. Any affiliations and his motive are unknown, but it appears he wanted to be shot.
Come on, get down! No, get down! Get down! I'm cutting my pocket. I don't care, get down! I'm cutting my pocket. Get down! Get down and get shot! Leave the head.
This horrified driver watched it all unfold.
All I seen is this guy is just crumbling. I mean, he's going 70, 80 clicks. He's just hitting people one by one, going down. Oh, man, it was like, it's a nightmare, man. I seen, I got to Young and Empress, and I seen a lady with her leg, and, oh, man, it was a gruesome scene. It's really bad out there. I couldn't believe what I seen, man. It was like, oh, man, everybody, all these people on the streets getting hit one by one, post office box getting crumbled up on people, and one person got dragged on, and their blood is all over Young and Empress. It's really bad out there, man. I'm so shaky. I'm still dying from this. I can't believe this is happening. This is, like, unbelievable.
Having just been briefed on the incident, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau gave his immediate reaction.
Obviously, we're just learning about the situation in Toronto. Our hearts go out to anyone affected. We're going to obviously have more to learn and more to say in the coming hours, and we'll.
Multiple casualties have been taken to nearby hospitals, some in clear distress. And officials in the last few minutes have confirmed the death toll.
We can confirm for you tonight, right now, we have 9 people that are dead, 16 that are injured. Toronto Police Service has mobilized all available resources, and I can assure the public all our available resources have been brought in to address this tragic situation and to investigate this situation.
The police investigation has only just begun. Debris and even shoes littering the street, leaving Toronto grappling with the aftermath of a deadly incident that people are still struggling to comprehend. Robert Moore, News at 10, Washington.
A big change in mood now, and some good news. Yes, you may say. Prince William's friends have been teasing him that 3 children is the point at which any set of parents is outnumbered. Some of you may know the feeling. Well, tonight, hunkered down at home, they will find themselves indeed outnumbered. But it has nevertheless been a great day for the Cambridges. Everything went well. Mother and child are healthy. The happy father joked that a 3rd child meant thrice the worry. A long time since we've heard anyone say thrice, but never mind. It's been quite a day.
Just under 12 hours after she was admitted here in the early stages of labour, the Duchess of Cambridge stepped out with her new son in her arms. The little man oblivious to the fuss all around him. Any predictions that there would be less interest in the arrival of Prince William and Kate's 3rd child disproved by the hundreds of lenses now trained on this newborn. And after a few moments on the steps, the couple returned with a royal car seat for the as yet unnamed prince to drive him back to Kensington Palace. What did the other children, George and Charlotte, think of their new brother?
How are George and Charlotte?
Very happy, very delighted.
And as for 3 children,
Thrice worry now.
but the first worry will be deciding on a name for number 3.
We'll find out sooner or later.
Thank you.
See you later. We didn't keep you waiting too long this time.
No, thank you.
For all today's technology and for all the announcements on social media, there is still one tradition which is triggered by a royal birth. It is the placing of an easel in the forecourt of Buckingham Palace. It's been done for every royal baby since Queen Victoria moved here in 1837. On the notice, the time of birth, 11:01 a.m, and the signatures from the royal family's medical team. Back at the hospital, the first visitors into the maternity ward were the new prince's older brother and sister. Princess Charlotte waved to the cameras. Prince George, who just finished a day at school, did not. But with 2 siblings to look out for now, he's got a lot on his mind.
Well, this takes the royal family right into the 22nd century, isn't it? I mean, this baby would look back on the reign of Queen Elizabeth as if it was Queen Victoria. It's a sign of how the British royal family has its ability to regenerate itself.
He might be just 8 pounds and 7 ounces, but this baby takes a position tonight as 5th in line to the throne. Fitting then for someone just hours old, who already appears to have mastered a royal wave of sorts. Chris Ship, News at 10, at the Lindo Wing.
Such has been the sense of public concern, well, outrage really, over the treatment of the Windrush generation, that the government has struggled to get a grip on it. For more than a week, the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary Amber Rudd have tried, and this afternoon Miss Rudd tried again, agreeing to just about everything asked for by those struggling to confirm their British status. If only the government had done it all sooner, you might say.
The community around here was brilliant.
Hubert Howard arrived proudly in the UK aged 3 as part of the Windrush generation. But the hopes and dreams of the boy in this photo have been casually crushed by a nightmare of bureaucracy after the Home Office refused him leave to remain.
And it's still happening. I can't sleep at night. I just can't sleep at night.
Despite having his mother's passport with his name in it, denied his own papers, Hubert lost his job and couldn't even travel to Jamaica for his mother's funeral.
And, since she passed away in 2006, I haven't even been by her graveside. I haven't been there at all, and that is what's really tearing me up.
Today, the Home Secretary acknowledged it should never have happened, but attempted to share the blame.
This is a failure by successive governments to ensure these individuals have the documentation they need. And this is why we must urgently put it right.
Your failure, shouted the opposition, but she did also promise.
So I to acquire the status that they deserve, British citizenship, quickly, at no cost, and with proactive assistance through the process.
So from now on, citizenship fees will be waived for the Windrush generation. There will be no requirement for them to take language or knowledge tests, And Amber Rudd also promised that compensation will be available for those who'd suffered losses.
David Lammy.
But many are predicting the problem goes way beyond Windrush.
They are from countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Nigeria, Ghana and Uganda. Many of these people have temporary leave to remain or indefinite leave to remain. It is unfair.
This is a failure by successive governments.
Hubert Howard listened to the Home Secretary's promises. I asked him whether compensation could possibly compensate him.
How is this compensation going to work? They've got to sort out the way they're going to compensate, and they've got to compensate properly. Because, I felt that from 2012, my life has been lost.
An unintended impact, the Home Secretary called it, and we're only just starting to find out how many lives like Hubert's have been devastated as a result.
And Romilly is here with me now. She's having a tough time on this, isn't she, really? And there's no let-up this week.
No, there certainly isn't. And if you spent any time with people like Hubert Howard in my report there, you realise that the hoops that they were being asked to jump through to prove their right to be here as British citizens were really preposterous. Hubert spent more than a decade trying to gather together all the evidence. He failed partly because his primary school didn't keep attendance records going back that far, and that was enough to destroy his life. The Home Office is going to some lengths now to reverse these injustices, but no, it's not over. Amber Rudd will appear before the Home Affairs Select Committee on Wednesday, where she'll face a grilling from Yvette Cooper, of course, shadowed her department for 4 of these crucial years. But also, Windrush might be where this started, but it's not where it ends, because there are many other cases from people from East Africa, from South Asia, whose cases have yet to come out, and that's got to be deeply worrying for the government.
Does seem extraordinary. Romilly, for now, thank you very much indeed. It may be a few days yet before we get the official version of whether chemical weapons were used just over 2 weeks ago in the Syrian town of Douma by President Assad's forces. It was, of course, the attack that triggered military action by Britain, America and France. Chemical weapons experts have been in Douma over the weekend, but today our correspondent Dan Rivers was taken by regime minders to the hospital where those distressing pictures of gasping children were filmed.
The symbols of President Assad's victory are everywhere in Douma, as are the signs of the barbarity with which it was achieved. The Syrian government's taking us to an area the West alleges chemical weapons were used with devastating effects.
This is medical point number 1.
We're taken into a fortified tunnel complex where a makeshift hospital still operates. It was here this video purported to show survivors being doused in water after being exposed to chemical weapons. We interviewed 4 hospital workers under Syrian government supervision who all had identical stories claiming there were no victims of a chemical attack. Adnan Jarkas is a nurse who was here on April the 7th.
We saw a civilian man bringing his daughter in and shouting gas. And then he just disappeared after that. The white helmets came in bringing people. It was chaos. That's all that happened. Most of the cases were asthma and no chemical attack that day.
But some of the staff from this hospital fled to northern Syria when Douma fell. They've told a British Syrian doctor those who stayed were pressured by the regime to change their story about the chemical attack.
They were put under enormous pressure. The situation there is a matter of life or death for them. If you don't comply with what the regime wants, really, then you're going to lose your life.
What's clear is that the events of April the 7th are now subject to a vicious propaganda war, one in which claim and counterclaim are beginning to obscure the truth. We can't be certain what happened here, but the videos of the bodies and the testimonies of people who were here are compelling. But the Syrian government dismisses them as lies and forgeries.
The Syrian government took us to 2 cellars in Douma which reeked of ammonia. They claim these are rebel chemical facilities. This yellow canister is similar to one pictured at the scene of one of the alleged attack sites, but we cannot say who put it here. We didn't see any chlorine or chemicals that are precursors to sarin. We're also shown one of the 2 sites where the chemical weapons were allegedly used. Inside, the day after the attack, this video gives a sense of the utter horror. This man was on the scene the next day with his camera,
capturing scenes, most of which are too graphic to broadcast. He's spoken to ITV News and is sure the victims were gassed.
We smelled a strange odour, and it was similar to the chlorine smell we use in house cleaning. Next morning, we were told that many people died in the city because they were targeted with poisonous gas in the civilian areas.
He also interviewed 4 survivors who are now in northern Syria. They also insist the attack was real.
My daughter was hit by the chemical. She was in a state. We tried all medications. She was at the clinic for 2 days, lying next to dead bodies.
I saw people foaming at the mouth, and they were in very stiff positions, unable to move.
The Syrian government says UN inspectors were back in Douma today, and given the conflicting accounts of what really happened here, their findings will be crucial in this battle for the truth. Dan Rivers, News at 10, Douma.
The social media company Facebook has repeatedly claimed it is not a publisher, usually to avoid criticism about questionable content that appears on its pages. Well, now the consumer champion, Martin Lewis, is taking them on over that. He is furious that his name and his face have been used by scammers on Facebook to swindle vulnerable people.
It is the social media company already under fire. But now it's the adverts between our photos and messages causing them trouble. Adverts showing well-known faces supposedly backing products, but the ads are fake and it's alleged Facebook is failing to police them. Michael COOMES thought he was buying a boiler, endorsed by consumer champion Martin Lewis, only to find it was a scam.
You would trust an advert from Martin Lewis. It's potentially going to cost us a lot more than what we previously thought, so we could be out of pocket £4,000 or £5,000. Which I think is unfair.
Martin Lewis has found more than 50 fake adverts. He believes Facebook should be responsible for blocking them.
Once a person finally gets in touch with me to tell me they've seen an advert, because it's not, the algorithm isn't shown on my page, and then we report it to Facebook, and then maybe after a couple of weeks it's taken down, they might confirm it's been taken down, but then the next day a new one is published. The key point is, I don't do any adverts. So any advert with my face in is a fake advert.
He's so exasperated that he's taking Facebook to court, accusing them of defamation. The company says we do not allow adverts which are misleading or false, and that Mr. Lewis should report any adverts that infringe his rights and they will be removed. According to those involved in the communications business, it will be a critical test for Facebook.
It's incredibly important because it goes right to the heart of what social media is, what these platforms and how they operate, and the freedom of access and the freedom of posting on them and what they are. Are they publishers or are they platforms?
Consumers like Michael want adverts they can trust. Martin Lewis wants his good name back. Juliet Bremner, News at 10.
Such is the vast scale of rape in India, particularly child rape, that the government there has just brought in a new punishment, the death penalty for anyone found guilty of raping a girl under 12. The latest such crime, which has reverberated around the country and indeed the world, is the sexual assault and murder of a 4-month, yes, 4-month-old girl. The issue rose to prominence in 2012 with the case of an Indian student who died after being raped on a bus in Delhi. Mass protests followed, involving hundreds of thousands of people. The government did indeed respond, doubling prison sentences for rapists. But despite the tougher laws, the problem has continued to grow, from around 25,000 recorded rapes 6 years ago to almost 40,000 a year now, according to the latest figures, that is. And I should warn you that our report tonight contains some really distressing scenes and details.
Stop rape, they chanted at this rally in Delhi. Women demanding action amid a surge in sexual violence cases across India, which has left them and their daughters living in fear. As this gathering was happening in the capital, another rape was confirmed by police in the city of Indore. Sonu is the mother of one of the youngest victims identified so far. Her 4-month-old baby was murdered and sexually assaulted in the early hours of Friday morning.
I woke up and reached for her, but she wasn't there.
I started screaming and panicking.
The blood-soaked body of Lakshmi was discovered just meters from where she had been abducted. The family are homeless and were sleeping in front of Indoor's Rajwada fort when the infant was taken.
How can this happen to us? We are just balloon sellers. How can this happen to our daughter?
CCTV showed a man carrying the baby to where he carried out the attack and dumped her body. He was quickly identified and arrested. Lakshmi's grandfather wanted to show me where she was found. He broke down in tears when we got there. We could see the bloodstains at the bottom of the flight of stairs down which she had been thrown.
The horrific details of this case emerged on the same day the Indian government announced it was introducing the death penalty for those convicted of raping a child under the age of 12. That was in response to nationwide protests following a number of brutal sexual assaults and murders involving young girls.
Thousands have taken to the streets in anger at a series of child rapes which the authorities tried to cover up. 8-year-old Asifa Bano was tortured and repeatedly assaulted in a temple by a group of 8 men. In a majority Hindu area, the young Muslim girl was targeted to intimidate the minority community. Dr. Ranjana Kumari says introducing the death penalty will solve nothing in a society where rape is being used as a weapon.
Is hanging an answer to what is going wrong and what is going wrong because of rape culture being built by irresponsible politicians of this country? The way they have used religion, the way they have evoked all kinds of emotions. Senior-most politicians of this country have made statements like, oh, women enjoy rape. Oh, boys will be boys.
Women, more than ever before, are enrolling in self-defence classes. The onus is on them to prevent rape. For young girls in India, the threat is never far away. Debbie Edward, News at 10, Indore.
Really is hard to hear all that, isn't it? What is wrong with people? Anyway, back here. If Stephen Lawrence, a regular teenager, aspiring architect, loving son, had not been murdered by racist thugs 25 years ago yesterday, he would have been 43 by now, which really is the most melancholic of thoughts. Well, today, the life he lived, and indeed the life he didn't, were in everyone's thoughts at a memorial service at a church in London. But in addition, there was striking recognition too of the historical significance of his death, the notion that it simply had to mark a turning point. The Prime Minister said that from now on, every 22nd of April will be known as Stephen Lawrence Day.
Where is the love and the joy that you promised me? Tell me it's all right.
Remembering the life and death of Stephen Lawrence is now officially a national event. And in this congregation, there were some signs of how much this nation has changed in the years since he was killed. In the front rows, the faces of the establishment are perhaps not quite as white as they once were. A woman of mixed race is set to marry a prince who had come to pay tribute to a family who, in their anguish, have achieved so much.
Stephen's family have honoured the promise of his life with everything that they have done in his name, the change they have brought about and the remarkable things that they have achieved. As you remember Stephen and mourn what has been lost, it is my special hope that you might all find some comfort in knowing just how much there is to be thankful for.
We ask for solution.
Hanging over this memorial, the terrible fact that only 2 of Stephen's killers have been brought to justice, and a sense that an underlying, unspoken racism may still lurk not far from the surface of our society.
When it comes to fighting racism, institutional or otherwise, there is no finish line. You don't get to an age when we can finally breathe out and say, yes, I reach. No need to worry about racism anymore. Just ask the Windrush generation.
This country might look different now. It might be policed differently.
But Stephen Lawrence Day will serve as an annual reminder that to guard against prejudice is to be on constant watch. Geraint Vincent, News at 10.
Since Liverpool's star striker Mo Salah was made Player of the Year last night, it hasn't just been his club's fans who have been celebrating. He has a big following in his home country, Egypt, and not just because of his talents as a footballer either. He set up a charity where he grew up to put, as he put it, something back.
Enjoying his moment in the limelight this evening, Mo Salah, the striker whose laser-like finishing has left the Premier League's other world-class strikers in his wake. And that's why, last night, fellow players voted him better than the rest.
I feel great about that. I work hard and I'm very happy to win it. The team helped me a lot. The way we play, the way, they helped me, they passed me the ball a lot. So, the team helped me a lot, honestly, to perform and be in that shape.
The else would have voted not the players, then I think it's different. But the players know how difficult it is to score that many goals and to be involved in that many goals. So I really think it's well deserved.
At home in Egypt, he is a hero, especially as he's never forgotten where he came from. Often returning to the backyards where he first played, Salah has set up a charity for his local community. It's run by Mohamed Benazi, who says his generosity is helping build a religious school and also funding new equipment for the area's hospital.
ولاحظ تردد بعض الناس على البيت طلبا للمساعدة فأفكر إن احنا ننشئ مؤسسة عشان يبقى الصرف من المؤسسة ما يبقاش من البيت والناس ما يترددوش على البيت إنما يترددوا على المؤسسة.
Tomorrow night, Mo Salah leads Liverpool's attack against Roma, the club he left to come here. Obviously, they know him very well, so a best place to do what few others have managed this season, and that is to halt him in his tracks. And if he can add Champions League winner to last night's silverware, then he'll eclipse in one season what most won't get close to achieving in an entire career. Steve Scott, News at 10, Liverpool.
And finally, for many people, music has a power to delight, to inspire, to move, and many other things besides. The composer of many of our greatest musicals, Andrew Lloyd Webber, certainly thinks so. He is worried that the world is becoming a less harmonious place as music and other arts are squeezed out of school timetables.
It is a dramatic moment for these young school children tonight, playing the London Palladium no less. Each received their instruments and tuition for free, courtesy of one of the most famous people in British musical theatre. Andrew Lloyd Webber says he wants to put something back at a time when arts teaching in schools is being cut.
Every penny that we spend on music and the arts in schools comes back tons of times over. You know, you think of the Brit School, who produced Adele and Amy Winehouse, and they've had now their sixth form grant cut. You'd say, what is this government doing?
So far, Lloyd Webber's Music in Secondary Schools Trust has provided access to instruments for thousands of inner-city children. The arts, he says, should not be the preserve of the rich.
One of the things that concerns me hugely is in the theatre, the lack of diversity that we get because of the fact that the stage schools are expensive to go to. But it's wrong, because you tend, therefore, to get children from a background where there is money. And therefore our actors and the people who I tend to see often for auditions, they come from a limited background. This is wrong. Once upon a time, when I was a kid, the Royal College of Music was free. I mean, it's nonsense that it's not.
With theatre hits like Cats, the composer says music has shaped his life. He now wants arts charities and foundations to campaign together so all children get equal access.
I'm not a politician, so I'm not the person to do this. But we need to have somebody who can represent to government. It's not a party political point, this. It's to represent to government how important it is to spend on arts and education, the arts.
Tonight, these children were seizing their opportunity to great acclaim. Nina Nanar, News at 10.
On tomorrow's news agenda, Jeremy Corbyn is expected to meet leaders of Jewish groups in an attempt to deal with criticisms of anti-Semitism in Labour. And Parliament Square will become home to a new statue for Millicent Fawcett, who campaigned for women to have the vote. That is it for now, but do have a very good night, and thank you for watching.
Tomorrow, from heavyweight interviews to the heaviest sportswoman in the world, we've got it all covered on Good Morning Britain. Piers and Susanna talk to TV first data and Britain's record-breaking sumo wrestler, plus all the latest on the royal baby. Will we wake up to a name for the newborn fifth in line to the throne? Tomorrow from 6 on Good Morning Britain.
Whatever the